Welcome back. Today I'm going to try to solve some more checkmate puzzles. My plan for today is to start with mate in ones and try to get, 10 or so in a row. And once I do that without any failures, then I'll move on to mates in two, try to get 10 or so of those in a row and move on. That's the idea. If I have failures, I may just stick with whatever category I'm on and finish out the total time for the video, which I think will be under 30 minutes. So let's get to it. All right, this is the puzzles by theme on Lichess. I'm going to click mate in one, open that in a new tab, and I am playing with the white pieces. I believe that that is checkmate there. Okay, because my rook guards that square and my queen cuts off the rest. All right, the green thumbs up will be next puzzle, so let's do that. Here I have checkmate right there in the corner because the queen cuts off everything. That one was fairly easy. This one looks a little harder because the bishop is guarding that square. Oh, the knight, is that going to be checkmate with the knight? Oh, it was. Okay. That one took a few extra seconds because, yeah, the bishop was guarding that square and the rook was guarding down there. So I wasn't quite sure, but it was the knight. Okay, next. I'm playing with the black pieces. Now, it's not checkmate in the corner because the king can escape, but what about right there? What about h2? They don't have any pieces that can get to that square. Okay. Okay, I noticed that my dark squared bishop is cutting off the king's path here, so it looks like anywhere I move this bishop, not there, will be mate, right? For example, if I just drop the bishop back one, they don't have any pieces that can block this check from my queen. It'll be a discovered attack from my queen. But does it matter where I move the bishop? I just know I can't move it there because then the king could capture and it's not checkmate. So I need that pawn to still be there. That should be checkmate because nothing can block. The king can't move. But then that should be checkmate too. And that, and that, and that. So does it matter? That's the question. I don't think it matters. I'm just going to move it here. Okay, that was it. I'm going to back up one and see just in case. That should have also been made. Okay, it was. Usually puzzles don't allow multiple solutions. It allowed that one. I don't know if it would have allowed all the other ones or not. Okay, playing with the white pieces. My rook is protected and my rook is cutting off all of these squares. Let's see. But you know what? My pawn is also cutting off that square and my king is also cutting off that square. Right now I could check with the knight, but the king could just move back. So what if I checked here with the rook on e6? It would be guarded by both my king and the knight. I think that's it because my pawns cut off both of those squares. My king protects these. My rook would still be guarding that one, and nothing can capture it. Okay. That one probably should have been easier, but I just wanted to be sure. That looks like 6 in a row, playing with the white pieces. The trick is to visualize which squares are cut off by which pieces. And in this one, I already see, but I'm going to go ahead and mark them on the board that my bishops, dark squared bishop and light squared bishop, are cutting these squares off from the king. And my knight on e6 is cutting off this one. So if I can check, like right there, with my knight on f5, that should be mate. I just have to make sure none of the enemy pieces can take there, and I don't think any of them can. Oh, but no. You saw that, right? It gets in the way of the bishop, so the bishop wouldn't be cutting off any of those squares anymore. So what am I missing? Oh, you know what? That knight on e6 cuts off both of these squares, and my light squared bishop cuts off of all of those. So I bet it's this bishop then, bishop to g7. But it's not what I initially thought, because when I move the knight there, then suddenly those two squares are open for the king. Okay, so I think it's bishop to g7. Almost missed that one. And I probably would have missed that in a game. I probably would have checked here. The king would have got out. But then, I don't know, then I could have maybe had a discovered check or something. Very complicated. Ooh. I think that's not checkmate. No, it's not, because the king could escape. Okay, so, well, there the king escapes to the f file, What about here? King can escape either way. If I go there, the king protects all of those squares, and my queen would be cutting off all of these, but the king still escapes. Okay, and I'm playing with the white pieces. That's what it says down there on the lower right. Okay, so this one's tricky. What about here? Queen to G, whatever that is, G6. Then the queen cuts off all of these, and my king cuts all of those. Wow. That one was a little tricky, and I don't know, I'm pretty sure that I wouldn't have seen that during a game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 2 more of these mates in ones, some of which have been getting pretty tricky. Okay, that knight took my rook, which knights here often do, but I have a mate. I think it's going to be moving my rook over to the open A file. It was, because the king can't move due to my bishop, and nothing else could block or interpose. Okay, next puzzle. One more. On that one, I just had to see that my bishop was protecting that square and nothing else could capture there. That one was rated higher than a couple of the other ones. I'm not sure, that one seemed pretty easy. That's why I hesitated. Okay, well that's 10 in a row. So I'm going to go back to the original page and I'm going to click Mate in 2 to open in a new tab and try to do some mates in 2s. Oh, it doesn't show my progress in the mates in 1s down at the bottom. I think if I put my king right there on E6, it doesn't matter if the opponent promotes or moves this pawn. Those are their only 2 legal moves. Then I will play F7, which should be checkmate. Okay, because my king guards all of those squares. Okay. Again, they're about to promote with check. So let's see, how can I have a mate in 2 here? I think it's going to be this bishop move, bishop to C6, because my queen is already cutting off all of these squares. My pawn would guard that one. And whether they moved to the back, either way, I think my queen to A8 would be mate, because from there my bishop would be cutting off both of the D7 and B7 squares. But what if the king came forward? If the king came forward, that's a good question. So maybe it's not bishop to C6, because that's the conundrum there. I would be able to check again, but it wouldn't be mate in 2. Yes, it would. That would be mate, because then the king couldn't go back because of the bishop. My pawn would be protecting my queen, and my queen would be cutting off all of those squares as well as this, while my bishop cut off that one, and my queen would be guarding there. So I think that's it. Oh, the king went back there, so then it's just mate in the corner. Okay, well, I had to look at the other variation because there was no guarantee that the king was going to go back. Next puzzle. Checkmate in 2, and I am playing with the black pieces. I think it's there. I think it's queen to E1, because the only legal move in that position would be for the rook to take, and then my rook would take as well. Okay, next puzzle. Again, they're trying to promote here, and this one is they're gonna come in with check, protected by their queen. Let's see, but now that's not mate because their bishop is here. So it has to be something else besides taking that. But wait, what if I take that and they take my queen? Because you got to look at all the checks, right? If I take the pawn with my queen and they capture my queen, do I have anything? Not really. I could take back with my rook, but then they would take back, and yes, I would have a check, but there's no mate there. What if I took with my rook? They could still take with their bishop, but then that's not mate. That's not mate, because they could get out. Okay. What about here? Let's look at all the checks. They could take with their pawn or their king. No, they can't take with their pawn because the pawn is pinned. Okay, so they could take with their, and they can't move here or there. They would have to take the rook. Okay, so that's promising, very forcing. They have to take the rook, and then that's mate because the knight guards that square. Wow, I probably would not have seen that one in a game either, but in a puzzle I knew that it was checkmate in 2 because that's the theme that I chose. That's something that I need to get through my head too when I'm in a game. If I have pieces pointed at their king, I've missed a couple of mates in two over the last month or so. Part of it was because I didn't think I had one, but I had lots of pieces pointed toward their king or very near their king that was vulnerable, and I should have maybe taken a few extra seconds to look for those. That's one thing I'm trying to practice here. Okay, again, coming after my queen, offering a queen trade. That's check, protected by my rook, as is this, by the way. But I think if I check on h7 first, the king goes there, and then I could check again, but then the king gets away. But if I check on the back rank first, the king only has one legal move. Then I follow up with the rook to h7, and that should be made. Okay, that's 5 in a row. I do like the discovered checks. Anywhere I move this bishop, for example, attacking the queen, will be a check. Well, let's just say if I move the bishop there, let's start with that one. That's a check. I just saw one that might be slightly better. What about that? Because then where can the king go? I think that one's better. But let me go ahead and follow this one out, because if I go this way, the king can get out. And yes, I could check again, not very easily, because the knight guards that square. I would have a hard time checking again. I would probably have to bring the bishop back to check again, and then the king would go where it is. So I don't like that. If we go here, the king does not have any legal moves, because my rook hits all of these squares, my bishop hits those two, my pawn covers that one. So the knight would have to block the rook's check, and I would just take it. So it's there. Yeah. Okay. In a game, I'm sure I would have done this. Discovered check to win the queen. It wouldn't have been a mate, but I would have got the queen for a bishop. But here I knew I had a mate in two, so I looked for it. Okay. Interesting. I do have a follow-up check, but then the king just gets out. It can't come back to the g-file because my queen is here. I don't think that's good because their pawn would just capture. But I do know that the first move isn't always check, is it? Wait, I bet it is. Yeah, I was going to say, because here, if my first move isn't check, like if I'm preparing a mate, like just slightly shifting my pieces around, the opponent has a check. And then I have to get out of check or block. And then so then my second move couldn't be made. So it can't be one where the first move has to be, because I know it's a mate in two, the first move has to be a check, otherwise they'll check me. I think it's the rook back to g8 because that forces the king forward. And then I'll put my queen where the rook is now on g6, and that will be made. Okay. Next puzzle. And I'm at 15 minutes. Okay, so I'm averaging about just under a minute per puzzle. All right. I do see that the pawn cuts off this. Pawn is guarding the g6 square. So the knight can move, and the king still can't go there. But the only knight move that's check is here. Because I know they could take it two different ways, but then I would have this check, but that's not mate because then the king escapes. Okay. Wait, maybe not. Maybe the king can't escape because my bishop is guarding g8, even when my queen is not there. So maybe it is that. No, because then if they take with the rook and I take with the queen, I move my queen up to g6, the king can still go here to g8, and that's not mate. Well, I'm not really seeing it then. Wait, maybe it's leaving the knight there, because again, the pawn cuts off this. Those two squares are taken up by their own pieces. My knight is cutting off the corner, and even if I move my queen, the bishop is cutting off this square. So what if I capture this pawn with my queen? That leaves only one legal move to take back. And then I think that's mate, because my knight also cuts off that square. I think that's it. It's queen sacrifice. Oh, I got 9 points for that. Oh, my left column isn't showing because of the way I cropped the screen this time. But yeah, I got 9 points for that because it's rated 2254. Oh my. Well, I feel really good about that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in a row. Okay, 2 more of these. Fingers crossed I can get them in a row. I'm doing pretty good today with these. I have a lot of checks in this position. I can check on any of these squares. I think that front one would be bad because their bishop or their knight could capture there. But just in case, let's say they captured with their knight. I could capture back with my bishop, but they would capture back with their bishop. So there's nothing there. What about here? They could block with their queen, but then I would, if I took with the rook, then their king goes back there. Nope, I don't have it. It's not mate in 2. There's a check, which looks bad because their pawn can take. However, my rook isn't the only piece helping guard that square. My bishop is also pointed at that square. So what if I checked here? There are no legal moves for the king because the rook blocks all these squares off, and my queen from there would be blocking this entire diagonal. So they would have to take with the pawn if I checked on b4. And then when they did take with the pawn, I would move my bishop to b4, and I think that would be mate because the bishop would be cutting off the whole diagonal. Okay, I'm going to try that. Oh, wow. That one was also rated pretty high too. Okay. Okay, one more. Let's see. And then I'll move to mates in 3 to finish out the video. Get as many as I can before my 30 minutes runs out. Okay. One thing I want to note is that these pawns, my pawns are guarding those squares. Well, I mean, and that one too, for that matter. So the king can't come forward, and it can't move to the e-file, obviously, because of my rooks. But if I check on e3, the king goes this way, and then it can start escaping, and their rook guards that rank. What if I went past their king first? Because then if I brought my second rook here, that would be mate. No, it wouldn't be a forced mate in 2. Now, if they did something silly like push this pawn, then that would be a forced mate in 2 when I brought the second rook to e3. But because that first move's not check, they don't have to do something silly like move the pawn or move their king over. They could do something like check me here, or they could move their rook up here to guard that rank, right? What if my first move was check there? That forces them to the side, because my rooks then would be cutting off all of these. My rear rook and then my front rook would be cutting off these, and my pawn would be protecting the rook, so they would have to move over, and then I take my second rook to e3. That's a forced mate. Okay. That's 9, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, that's 10. Okay. Well, let's go do some mates in 3 and see how poorly I do at those. I'm going to click mate in 3. Oh, wow. There is a mate in 3 here. I think it's just take. Isn't it? Let's see. If I capture that. Well, number 1, they don't have to take back because it's not check. They have 2 choices to take back. Yeah, if I took there and they took with their knight, when I play here, that's not check. And yes, I would be getting a rook and a knight for my queen, but it's not check. And they have something else that they could do, like, I don't know, sacrifice a queen or something to delay it at least one more move, so it's not guaranteed to be mate in 3. I need to guarantee that this is a mate in 3. So I'm now looking at this, because that's a check. That forces them to capture either with the rook. Oh, no, it forces them to capture with that one rook. That allows me to capture this rook with check, which they could then either take back with the knight or block. Mates in 3s are a little harder. Okay. I'm looking at that as my candidate move. Bishop captures g7, check. I think, yeah, they only have one legal response to that. Now, then I have a couple of different things I could do. I could take with my queen, and that would force them to take back with their king. Then I would have a follow-up check here, but then they could take back, and when I checked again, their king would take that, and I would have lost all my pieces. And that's not a mate. So, when they took back, I think it makes sense for me to take this rook with check. It's my second move. And then, but then they can just go back and block, can't they? Wait, did I just see it? What if I take that with my queen? If they take back with their rook, then that's mate. No, they have to take with their knight because the rook is pinned. Okay, that's it. I'm pretty sure. Take with the queen on g7. They have to take with their rook. Then I take back here with my rook. They can't move their other rook because my bishop is pinning it, so they have to take with their knight. And then that's mate. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that one was very difficult. That one was rated less, only 21-21, lower than one of the mates in 2s. But that one seemed pretty difficult to me. Okay, got about 5 minutes left. All right. Well, I can check right here, but then they would block with their knight. If I checked on e8, their only legal move is to block with their knight. Then I would take it. Then their only legal move would be to take with their king, and I think that would be mate there. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay. Oh, I got 9 points for that one. Okay. Next puzzle. I am definitely about to be mated somewhere down here. So I need to do something to them, preferably checkmating them. I have lots of rooks pointed down open files, keeping their king from moving anywhere. I also have this check, but they would take back. And if they did, and then I tried something like putting my bishop here to pin, I think they would just go there and that would be checkmate, and I would lose. Oh, also they have a mate here. I just realized they have 2 different mates right now. Wow. You can tell that I'm used to thinking in defense mode because my eye keeps getting drawn to their attack on my king instead of what I can do to their king. I think it's important that all of these squares are cut off by my rooks. They simply cannot move there. So that does lead me to believe that this might be the first move, queen taking this knight, just because that's a very forcing move. It leaves them only one option, right? I guess not. They could block, but then I would take that, and that would be a mate in 2, so they're not going to block. If I take this, they're going to take back here. Wait. It's important to note that if this rook moves, my bishop is guarding b7. The reason I say that's important is because what if there's a rook sacrifice right here on h8? The king cannot move and nothing can block that, so the king has to take it. I still think that's a good forcing first move, but that means that I need to then follow up here. Then the king comes back. I'm running up on 30 minutes now, so this will be my last puzzle. Whether I fail it or solve it. Okay, well, what about this check first then? Rook to f8. Maybe that's it. Okay, and every one of those it fails somehow. What else is there? Let's go back to this as the first move. Rook captures. No other legal move. The rook would capture. Then I capture back, check back on h8. And the king can't go this way, so it would have to take the rook. And then that's mate because this bishop cuts off that square. Oh my. Okay, well, I had all the right moves from the beginning. I just had to get them in the right order, and that was difficult. Okay, thank you for watching. If you made it this far, the video that you see will probably be less than 30 minutes, but for me, I've gone past 30 minutes, so I'm going to stop this now. And I'm very proud of myself that I didn't fail any of those puzzles, but I know clearly from how long it took me on some of them, I do need some work, so I'm going to keep coming back when I get time and working on this. We'll see you next time.